Alrighty fellas, I got the transmission out. I'm going to get it put up on that table and drain as much of the fluid between this container and another one I got sitting over there. That way I got a second one for the tail, one for the front, and try and get all the fluid out of it and take the front pump out. Go through every inch of that front pump trying to figure it out, and remove the check balls and springs from the front pump. Maybe that's what's plugging it, keeping it from circulating, I'm not sure. And if I don't find anything there, I'll probably even pull the valve body and go through the valve body again. So I'll take you along with me on this journey. Alrighty fellas, I'm not really sure what's going on with this pump. This one is different than the one that I studied up on. I figured it's a C4, they're all going to be pretty much exactly the same when it comes to the front pump, but I'm wrong. This one did have a spring, but no ball bearings that I can see inside of it at all, and I didn't have to drill it out. It was like a little push-in lock thing that you just pull out and the spring comes out. And then it's got some different ball bearings around the sides instead of inside. Like, let me show you. There's where I pulled the spring out of. Right there is the spring and the little lock clip. There was no ball bearings inside of it, but there is that one there. And then there's more as you turn it. 3 more right there. So this is not the same kind of pump, so I don't even know if I can remove those or if I even should. What I am going to try and do is blow through each and every one of those holes with the air compressor. But all the rings are good. None of them are cracked. They all move fine. Just like it was when I put them back in there, no problems. And the gears have a really tight clearance from what I can tell, barely no wiggle at all when they're in here. So I'm not really sure why I'm not getting any pump pressure at all. Unless the torque converter, well, no, because it was doing the same thing with the other torque converter. I was thinking maybe it wasn't going deep enough into the pump or into the transmission for these things right here to grab. But it should. I mean, this says it's guaranteed to fit. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I am going to go through this thing and see what I can figure out. But first of all, I'm going to go in and jump on my computer and do a little research. See if I can figure out what's going on here. Maybe it's one of the servos I put in. Didn't do it right. Now, I don't know. That shouldn't stop it from getting fluid, I wouldn't think. Maybe it does. I don't know. I guess it's time for me to get off my butt and do some research. I'll be back. Alright, fellas, I've been scrubbing this pump down in the, got them in here, been scrubbing them down and cleaning them off, use a rag, and now what I'm going to do is pull them out, bring them over here to the table, maybe run like a piece of wire or something through each and every one of the little ports. I've already blown through it with the air compressor. And see what happens. Hopefully this fixes it. We'll see. Alrighty fellas, as far as I'm going tonight, I got the pump put back in, all put back together. About all the passages are cleared. That one little plug that was stuck in there, it was seized in. I got that moving back and forth, got it cleared up, blew it back and forth with the air compressor, oiled it up, and it's going back and forth now. So that shouldn't be a problem anymore. If that was, every hole's been blown through, everything's been cleaned out of it. The only thing I did notice is the small gear that goes onto the torque converter that's inside the pump. It has the beveled parts that slides over top of this right here on each side. It had a couple of like gouges this direction in it. So I don't know. I don't think that would affect anything because it just clamps onto the torque converter so the torque converter can spin it and turn the pump. So it shouldn't have been a problem. I'm going to make sure this torque converter is filled all the way up this time, because last time it said to put 1 quart in it with the actual instructions, and I couldn't get no more than 3/4 of a quart in it. And I tipped it back and forth and everything, it just wouldn't go in. And now it looks like it's almost empty again. So I'm going to try and get as much fluid in it as I can. Just maybe even let it sit overnight. I'm just going to drain some in it right now. Just let it sit there. See how much I can get in there. And tomorrow I'll slap this thing back together and throw it on back on the car. See if it'll do anything. So that's all I got for tonight, guys. Well, fellas, no good news. Did everything I could think of, except for replacing the front pump itself. And I still have no transmission. No, I even overfilled the transmission, way overfilled it on purpose, just to see if maybe had an air bubble in there somewhere, wasn't working the fluid up where it needed to go, something. But I'm done with this transmission. I put way too much money into it for nothing, and I don't know what else to do. And it costs more for a front pump than it does for a whole nother transmission. So might as well just go to the site, try to find a different transmission to put in here. I'm not sure what yet. May end up going with a T5 manual or something. I don't really want to. It's like a worst case scenario, because my legs ain't any good and it's really hard for me to be pushing on a clutch. I guess it is what it is, guys. I'll have to find another transmission for this, unfortunately. Alright, back out here in the shop again, messing with this transmission. Have an idea, might have found out what the problem is. When I bolt the torque converter to the flex plate, it's pulling it out of the transmission about 3/4 of an inch, which I think is pulling it right out of the pump itself. So it's not even turning the pump. And there would be why I have no fluid pressure. So what I'm going to do is, so I don't have to drop the entire transmission again, is cut the bottom of the bell housing off so I have a nice big space to work with, unbolt the flex plate from the torque converter, push the torque converter back inside the transmission all the way, and then measure the gap. It's only supposed to have 1/8 inch of play at a maximum of 3/30 seconds, and no more than 3/30 seconds or something like that, but 1/8 anyways. And you can just use like a 1/8 drill bit to measure it. But I can't see any of that because it's got a full bell housing all the way around, and no dust cover to remove to see or nothing like that on the bottom of it. So I'm going to cut the bottom of the bell housing off like most transmissions have. And yeah, if I need to cover it, I can cover it later on by throwing a piece of sheet metal over it and worry about it then. But that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get underneath there. That's why I'm wearing this, so I don't get burnt from all the hot metal that's going to be falling down on me. And get underneath there and cut that. So here I go. Alrighty fellas, I'm going to take you underneath the car with me and show you the space I got. Alright, that's the part that I just cut out. Now let me get in there a little more on my creeper here. Hold on. There we go. I got the torque converter pushed all the way into the transmission, and I'm trying to get the tape, well, this flexible measure thing, turn the right way. There it is. Oh, doggone it, I'm gonna have to flip it around from the other side. Do it from the back side, I guess, in order to get the measurement. Yeah, there is just about a ½ an inch. There's not supposed to be more than 1/8 of an inch, or right about exactly 1/8 of an inch, and I got about a ½ inch space. So I need a minimum of 1/4 inch spacers between the torque converter and the flex plate. But I'll get a more accurate measurement when I put the phone down and I got both hands. But yeah, it figures. And I'm sure it's pulled it right out of the pump. That's a pretty good space. Let me see if I can get a finger up there. Yeah, I can stick my whole finger between it. It's crazy how big of a space that is. So yeah, when I tightened the torque converter down, it's pulling it right out of the transmission bell housing, or out of the transmission front pump. So it's not even turning the pump. So I'll go ahead and shut this off for now and get on it. Maybe if I can shut it off. Well, I got the spacers in, and it appears it didn't make any difference. Nothing coming out at all. Well, that didn't work, putting the spacers in, so I only had 1/8 of an inch of play. It was 4/8 of an inch gap between the torque converter and the flex plate when it was pushed all the way in the transmission. So I got 3/8 spacers, and I put them in there and tightened it all back down, put Loctite on the bolts, and didn't make any difference. So my next step before replacing the pump is to drop the valve body and make sure nothing's plugged in there. It isn't allowing the fluid to circulate. So we'll get on that, but probably tomorrow, not today.